Amen. I am wrapped in your grace. Good morning to you all on this Thursday, giving thanks to God for allowing us to open our eyes and witness another day. What we didn't get right yesterday, we could get it right today. Yesterday is gone, and today is another day. So let's rejoice and be glad in this day as we open our eyes and get ready to start our day. Going to work, and of course, graduations are going on in some parts of the states. I know I saw yesterday some graduation photos and banners and everything by people's houses for their graduate teenager from high school. So anyway, so graduations are going on. It's still early June, and I believe this may be the last week of school where out here. I see a lot of vendors out selling nice, you know, fruit drinks. I was out there yesterday where I was going out to, take care of some things. And then the next thing you know, it ended up, I was at the church for Wednesday's prayer, worship, power of prayer in the community and everything. So I was over there, and plus I wanted to drop off my, offering or whatever, because I was so grateful that my church helped me out. And, I wanted to just say thank you, and not only just say thank you, but also show myself and approve by at least leaving a check or something to the church. Maybe that can help somebody else, the blessings go around. But anyway, y'all, I don't rob God's house. But anyway, y'all, like I'm saying, I wanted to talk about this morning, but before I get into it, I'm going to get into our Father's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou you are the kingdom, the power, and all the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now, anyway, I'm going to get right into it. Remember yesterday when I told you that there was a similar case that happened last year, 2025, and the incident took place, and I told you it happened in Texas. It was a Latino kid, Jose Ramirez or something like that, and another little white boy named Kaysen Allison. Okay? Kaysen was supposed to have claimed self-defense. Kaysen was supposed to have so-called been the one to claim self-defense, and Alec, what's his name? Kaysen, okay. And Jose Ramirez was supposed to have been the aggressor, the one who was the suspect. Put it that way, the one who started the trouble, who caused the fight, and also who caused his own demise or whatever from the fatality that happened in the fight, his own fatality, whatever. So it was similar. They was both seniors in school, and they both were known troubled in a way, kind of like dysfunctional sort of kind of way. And they were getting ready for their prom, graduation, whatever it was supposed to be. And these young men got into some, cross path with each other. This is what I get from the story. I'm older now, so there's so much I'm going to keep in remembering in my head, but these are the most important highlighted details. Is that Alex is dead. He was a Latino kid, and not only how it was like the way the self defense supposed to have happened, which Allison went to home. He planned it for the day when he brought the knife to the school. He brought a knife to school. He was supposed to have been having a fight with Alex. They planned the fight, okay, where they was going to meet because they didn't want to do it before the prom or something before graduation. They had this beef. Well, being that Alex was a person with a reputation, this Latino Alex, I mean, Ramirez, I'm sorry, I'm going to just say Ramirez. Jose Ramirez was known for his, fighting skills. Okay, just put it this way. He was known to be a good fighter. And if he gonna fight you, he gonna fight you, and he don't do no dirty hand. He. They said he got hand skills. He's a Ramirez. You know what I'm saying? Boxing, whatever, whatever. They say the boy can box. Put it that way. He's a good fighter. So what you call it? No, he wasn't gonna have a chance to beat him, and he tried to claim that he was being bullied, whatever, whatever. But other people were like, no, they were beefing over some female or whatever from a party or from a dance or from the prom or whatever it was. Teenagers, they getting out of school, they having their fun, and then it's probably some girls that it was over a girl too, supposed to have been. I don't know. So anyway, they teenagers. Ramirez is a Latino kid, and this one, Allison, is white. So Allison brings the knife. So when they meet up, what they fight or whatever, Allison knows that Ramirez is going to be there because that was the meeting place where Ramirez be at for they fight and everything. So they met in the boys' room, in the bathroom, in the school. That's where the fight took place. Ramirez be in there with all his boys. Allison went in there to follow Ramirez. Okay, why did he have to go in the bathroom knowing Ramirez was going to be there? Okay, and he gets in there and they get into it or whatever, and as they fighting, he stabs him to death. And Ramirez is trying to get away from Allison still comes behind him with a knife and stabs him in the back. It was like they said it was like a gash, whatever, the way they described the details of the incident. And I'm like saying, okay, this took place last year. That's why I was looking at timestamps. Now, the right here it says that this Allison and Ramirez, it was in the month of, I believe it was it happened on May 18th of 2022. I got the dates there. It happened on May 18th of 2022. So that is around the time the kids are graduating, prom night, proms and everything. In the state of Texas. This was in Texas, y'all. And the high school was called Belton High School. Just in case you have to do your own research. to remember for this trial. And at that same time when this trial took place, it took place during April of 2025. So now Allison, okay, he's home after he stabbed Ramirez and he pleaded self defense. How could that be self defense when you followed him into the bathroom? Self defense. And the thing is that he gets no time actually, because he was. I don't know what they sentenced him for. Oh yeah, I know what the sentence was because I did go look it up. It was in June of after the trial. The trial took place in April. His sentencing came in June, and he only got reckless manslaughter, something like a reckless manslaughter. This is what they gave Allison. They were all around the same, in the same age. It happened in a high school. It was in Texas, and it was a stabbing, and Ramirez died, and Allison really basically got no time. Not no 35 years. I could tell you that much. They gave him reckless manslaughter. And I believe he only have to serve no more. It's like 2 to 10 years or something like that. Something like that. Okay. Go and look up the trial yourself. I don't know if they're going to have too many things. It's documented, it's out there. I took this part of the trial and I'm going to let you listen to the video because this is a video that is on my, this video actually is one of my shorts because I did a video on it. Because as I was following the trial, I was also following what was going on with Carmelo Anthony. Because at that time the trial was taking place, it was the track stabbing. It was the track school stabbing. Okay, track at a school stabbing. I'm sorry. And that's why I got Anthony's picture there also with Austin, the victim, and Ramirez, the victim. Allison and Ramirez and Carmelo with Austin. And look how quickly they rushed um excuse me, look how quickly they rushed Carmelo's trial with an all white juror in 1 week. You got a juror. When you announce his trial, you get your jurors already fixed for your trial. And your trial is in 1 year for this high profile case. Because look, Allison and Ramirez case wasn't a rush job. You understand? Look at the year stamp. It happened in 2022. The trial didn't take place in 2023. 2023. And they saying 19 years old Carmelo. Carmelo is not 19. Carmelo is only 18. And I was listening to that. They kept saying 19 years old and 17 years old Austin. No, Austin, if Carmelo's 19, then Austin is 19 because they both the same age. Hunter is 19. Hunter be 19, and they're not 19. They're 18. Because when the incident happened, they both were 17. I don't know they date of birth. I don't know if I don't know Carmelo's date of birth. I don't know. But I know we still in June. And Carmelo, when the stabbing took place, Carmelo, which was 2025, he was only 17 years old. 17. And so was Austin. They both were 17 years old. Listen to age. Listen to how they make things sound. Now, look at the time of the year. Ramirez and Allison and Ramirez, when that incident took place, the day, May 18th, 2022. The trial didn't take place until, of course, they had birthdays. They got older. If Ramirez was living, well, Ramirez was older when the incident took place, because Ramirez was about, I think 17, 18 years. He was already 18 when Allison and him got into it. Allison was the younger, you know, one. He was 17. Depending on kids' birthdays as they seniors and they coming out of high school. Because I know I was 18. Because of the way my birthday fell in the school year. When my birthday fell, because my birthday comes early in the year, like January, right there, boom. So it's kind of with me. So anyway, moving forward, when Allison and Ramirez thing was going on, so was the Carmelo, the Sotrack stabbing. So that was so interesting that this case came up. So I was into it and I was watching it. I watched it all the way to the very end. I looked for it every day as they were reporting what was going on, because they didn't show it on they didn't show the people in the court or anything of that nature. And Allison, of course, only got 2 to 10 years, I believe, and he was charged with reckless manslaughter. Okay? Reckless manslaughter. He wasn't charged with murder, and that was murder because he meant to kill. It was premeditated because he knew all the testimonies that came from all the witnesses that knew how the whole thing escalated, what was the nature of the crime, what was the reason, and all the details that the testimonies gave, the kids that were there, how Allison followed Ramirez to the boys' room and they got into it. And he knew he had a knife and he knew he went to go in there to kill. And as Ramirez was still trying to run and get away, he was struggling to get out, as he stabbed him up. And he was still stabbing him up. Even when he was leaving, he stabbed him in the back with a groping stab. Like, it, it, it was deep. And they gave the details of the stabbing. Carmelo only stabbed Austin one time, a poke, and Austin went out like that. He must be hit a main artery or he bled out or whatever. It was that quick, and then it was done when Austin approached him. He didn't approach Austin. Austin approached him. He was the aggressor. He wasn't. He was an aggressor. He was the aggressor. And if somebody gonna challenge you with a fight, and you know it's gonna be a person that know they're gonna whip your behind, and you really don't want to fight them, and you know you can't win with them, I would be like, look, let him approach you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go in the bathroom with a knife to go fight my, you know, what you call it, just go and step to him like that. No, we ain't gonna do that. If you know you don't have the boldness, not the boldness. Okay, put it this way: if you feel you're not confident enough that you're gonna beat this dude, then why even bother to go follow him into the bathroom? And that was the arguments of his defense. And they said his defense attorneys was in there and they would kick him behind Ramirez. But the fix was already in. They gave even with his bond. His bond. Okay, he got to go home after stabbing dude up. He wasn't arrested until like maybe a couple of days or maybe a day or so later after he stabbed up this dude. It ain't like he was taken right away into custody. And when they finally did take him into custody and everything, then they tried to tell all the sad stuff about his life and him being bullied. And yeah, the fix was in. And then on top of that, the bail, I forgot how much his bail was. It sure wasn't no mil. It was at $1 million. They lowered it, and he just went home within the next day or so on house arrest. And while that case was going on, they gave Carmelo a $1 million bill for self-defense. And then that's when everybody, all that noise was going on. I was watching this case, and that's when I was saying and everything, oh, another trial is going on. Everybody was putting it out there. Those who was following the Carmelo Anthony incident, the stabbing at the track meet that April. Because while that April track meet thing was going on, it had the both to distract you. You see how did they threw both of them out there at the same time? This stabbing that happened in Belton High School in Texas, and I forgot what part of Texas it is. And it both was in. It was this. That's it was. It just drew my interest because they were so similar. But now that Carmelo's trial came up the next year in June, they rushed the trial, and I'm like saying, I'm trying to think positive about all of this. I'm not trying to be negative in any kind of way. Of course, bad things are gonna happen before good things show up. But things get shaken up a little bit. I believe they meant to throw this trial. I think they meant to throw this trial because that was some kind of strategy in a way. I don't want to be wrong, but I'm trying to think because now, as soon as they lost the trial, listen to this. And Carmelo was charged with murder. Even the judge, I don't know, it could be a lie, but it may not be a lie. But the judge did not even want it to be murder. You understand what I'm saying? When the judge just want to rush, when the judge offered them at least manslaughter, give them manslaughter. You see what I'm saying? The judge was saying, not really, when you know the story of Jesus Christ, and anytime there's something high profile like Christ's crucifixion, that was a high profile thing because everybody was watching. Everybody was watching, everybody heard of him, and everybody was there watching, just like we watching it on the internet, as we watch it as it's reported on the, mainstream news and network. And everybody's having conversations about it, and it's actually going viral. Belton in them story didn't go viral. It was out there, but nobody was really taking any interest in it. And then all of a sudden, when this Carmelo thing happens, it came out of nowhere. And everybody's like, wow, this is interesting. It came up from nowhere when the Belton thing, and then all of a sudden, now we seeing Carmelo's case. And even the judge, was like, nah, let's try manslaughter. you know? And they just was ignoring that. And then on top of that, you know how long it took before the deliberation? How long they was in deliberation with the Ramirez case? Then with the McClef, with the Carmelo, I'm sorry, with the Allison case and with the Carmelo, the Allison deliberation took at least a whole day. The next, like, I think it took like another day and a half. That's how long they was in deliberations with the Belton stabbing, Belton High School stabbing. Okay? The Carmelo Anthony's took 2 hours. Make listen to the nature of the story of both stabbings. Carmelo, a track meet, a quarterback, 130 pounds, sitting under a tent, under bad weather condition because it was raining, at a track meet. Just listen to all the nature. He's minding his own business, sitting there with a friend, his friend told him he could come on underneath the tent or whatever because it was raining. But now Austin gonna get in his big face, tell him he don't belong there, give him direction, tell him he don't belong there, and then gonna put his hands on him. Okay, when he was warned not to put his hands. See, they try to flip this thing and make Armello sound like the aggressor, like he meant to come there to kill somebody. He meant to do all of this. When the dude, Eric, or whoever the friend was that told Carmelo it was fine to come under the tent while it was raining, there was no supervision there. There was no adult there to be there to assist anything. So make it make sense. These two young men, the Allison, planned they fight. They were gonna do it. He was gonna challenge him. He was gonna fight him and all this other big stuff or whatever. So I guess it was some girls there. So I guess Allison was like, look, I know I can't beat this dude. I don't know why I had to go into all of this mess with this dude, whatever, whatever. And if he's gonna try to mess with me, I better be strapped with something. I better have some kind of way to defend myself. So it wasn't, anything of that nature. He actually planned to fight him, and they planned it in the bathroom where Ramirez would be at, where he always would be at a certain time during that morning. Okay? And he came to school, and that was intentionally that he was going to kill and stab and seriously injure Ramirez. Okay? Because Ramirez was known to be a good fighter. He was known to have good skills. Okay? He was skilled with his hands, so he knew he couldn't beat him down with his hands. He didn't want to be beat up and punked out or whatever. He didn't want that. He wanted to go to school with a knife, and he wanted to make sure that he was able to fight him with a knife and seriously injure him. But he only gets reckless manslaughter. And he's a white boy. This is a white boy who killed the Latino kid. He got something, but he didn't get the time that they gave Carmelo. 35 years, but Carmelo did not come to Austin. Austin came to Carmelo. He approached Carmelo, and it was self-defense, and they trying to make it a lie. They trying to turn it into a lie, talking about he's some murderer. He ain't no murderer. They cut his doggone crown, his strength, his hair. That's Carmelo. That's Mello. And then they want to post all these crazy little things, making memes and laughs and all this jokes and grown evil white racist folks. They doing this. I've been watching them. I've been watching like how they've been reporting the story and everything else like that. They want to humiliate him, but let that be okay. Because look what they did to Christ when they took him to the cross. They humiliated him. They mocked him. They threw the thorn of crowns on his head and everything. And look how they did Samson. When once he was betrayed and Delilah told about his strength, his locks and everything, and they cut him. Carmelo is a doggone Nazarene. That his hair is his strength. That's his beauty. His that's his look. And they're gonna go and put a razor to his head. God gonna get these people real good for what they doing to that young man. They didn't do that to no all of a sudden because they so-called bully is dead. The bully, he came to Carmelo and he took his ass out of here. And it wasn't like Carmelo meant to take him out. But he told them, you don't step to me or you see what I'm going to do. And he was circled around all these dudes. It was with both of them, Austin and Hunter. And notice they didn't even put Hunter in on the stand. They already had the fix. They fixed it already. Because why wasn't no other witnesses called? Why wasn't there any character, people to report things on Carmelo's character or anything? We already know this kind of fight. I'm so familiar with it because they lynching and they justice system. They did it to R. Kelly. How they rush trials like that. And it was a lot of holes in a lot of things. And the prosecutors didn't even prove their burden. They didn't. They didn't. They went and had a 2-hour lunch, came back and said he's guilty. Murder. 35 years. They said, oh, he could have got a lot more than that. We don't care. 35 years. He hasn't even lived 35 years. This young man, Carmelo, has not even lived 35 years. He's only 17 when that happened. That's what they missing the point of. These are young people that made bad choices, and unfortunately, one happened to made a fatal bad choice. When someone warned you and said, "Don't put their hands on them," and you're gonna step to them and then get yourself pranked, shanked, or whatever you want to call it. That's the culture in Texas. That's what I'm trying to say. This is the culture of the young people today. This is how they are today. These young people, when they fight for the juggler. They fight for the kill. They don't want. It's just, and with Carmelo's case, with his fear, what was fear, and then on top of that, being outnumbered, and all that other stuff. They didn't take none of that into consideration. None of that. They in that mentality that they can do whatever they want to black people, while black people can't defend themselves. And that ain't gonna happen, and that's not the kind of way we raising our kids, to be afraid of you. We not doing that. You step to him, he told you, don't put your hands on him, don't put your hands on him. You could have said, look, I'm gonna go walk and go get security, or I'm gonna go do something. You could have done that, and you would have been alive. You would have been alive. And Carmelo went under the tent because his boy told it was okay. You could get under here because it was raining. You want to get under here because it's raining. They didn't show you the whole video. They only showed it to the jurors. And then on top of that, I heard half of the jurors was sleeping when there was certain important things that they were talking about. Jurors was out there sleeping. Even the judge was leaned back like he didn't take no interest. I'm telling you, the fix was already there. Ain't nobody stupid. A 1 week trial, a high profile case like that in 1 week. You got your jurors all picked out in 1 week. 1 week? No black jurors, all white. In a town that is known to have a certain culture called the Sundown Town. It's a town where they don't specifically care for black people. They like to keep they town only among themselves, like with their own kind. I really don't think it's, you know, I mean it's okay that you don't, want your neighborhood changing with culture and all kind of other stuff. Okay, but still in all, I believe everybody would love to live in America where they don't have to deal with people from all these different other places of the world. And black Americans, we've been dealing with it. Oh, believe me, we've been dealing with it. Okay? So it's kind of like everybody got to learn to get along with one another and get past the racial profiling, whatever they want to call it, and deal with character. Okay? Just deal with character. And the whole thing was that Austin character was out of control. And it led him to his death. Is that all right saying it that way? His character was out of control. And it led him to a death because he was taught to be a certain type of way towards a certain kind of people. Okay, we got to get away from that. Wrong is wrong and right is right. Austin approached Carmelo, even though he's the deceased and he looked like the victim, but he's not the victim. He was the one that was the aggressor. It had happened so quickly because God's hands was in it. That's the truth. That's where the blind justice is in man courtroom, because God is not, like I said, like man. He don't think like man, and he don't move like man. He move quickly. When he trying to get the attention, get your attention, or make his point clear, and also he used certain stories from the Bible, David and Goliath. Goliath was big and bad, talking bad shit. Excuse my language when I'm talking about the Bible. I'm just trying to give you an example of how people are, you know, how people are and what can lead to. People's behavior, people's character, people's attitude, whatever. Sometimes you being the aggressor and you feel you're going to bully somebody because you knew you had the upper hand. You knew everybody probably was scared of you, or everybody probably liked you. You were supposed to be known to be the star athlete in the high school varsity football team, whatever, as a linebacker. And you got a twin brother, and y'all were known for knocking people out or just going around just picking fights and do bullying people or whatever. I don't, that's what, from what I understand, y'all came from a dysfunctional family, a dysfunctional background. Y'all saw this young black boy who really was probably just a new kid on the block from another state. His family moved out there for a new life or whatever. But from what I understand, it was because of his father's job, and his father's the lead man of the household and his family. That's what I understand about Carmelo's life. Before Carmelo was even put in custody, as soon as they found out he was black, the first thing they wanted to try to say, his father was missing. The father of Austin McClaff had the nerve to say, these kids ain't got no fathers. That's doing what they supposed to do, how they raising their kids. And the first thing he did was misjudge, use misjudgment to Carmelo. Stereotypical misjudgment. He said he made that claim, but come to find out, Carmelo father is the head of his household. Carmelo father is the one who's made all that good money, and I'm talking about lucrative. I mean, they're a good conservative black family, a good conservative Christian black family. Ain't doing none of that mess that he's talking about. Ain't absent, ain't in jail, ain't out there slinging dope. And Carmelo's mother's a stay-home mom. She take care of her children. She's handling the household, raising her children. And Carmel, when you see the two stories and you see Austin McClellan and Hunter and everything, their parents are separated, divorced, and the two boys, I don't even know if they lived in the same household. I think Austin lived with his dad. And I think the separation of the twins, I think Austin lived with the dad and Hunter lived with the mom. And the father had a shady criminal record, a SA charge, and abuse and all kind of stuff. And when you look at the things he was trying to judge Carmelo of, was the things his family household was going through, the kind of man he was. Not that he was an absent father, he was involved in his children's life, but there were some things said about him, things that he's done. He has an SA. So judge people on the character of their lifestyle or how they are or whatever. Stop looking at skin color. Because this young man, Carmelo, was not meant to really kill or murder Austin. It was a reckless manslaughter. Just like they said they gave to Allison, reckless manslaughter, which was not reckless manslaughter. That's Barabbas. Okay? Allison was Barabbas because he followed Ramirez to the bathroom to fight. He did not just say, look, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid fighting that dude. That dude could knock me out and do whatever. So I'm going to find every way that I can pile a report. Like, I can't be near, he can't be near me. I would have been like, yeah, let me be a punk because I don't want to get my ass beat. You know what I'm saying? You know you can't beat somebody, then you even got the confidence to fight them. Don't follow them into the bathroom with a knife and only get slapped with a charge of a reckless manslaughter. And you was about the same age with Carmelo and with Austin. Carmelo and Austin and with Maris. Everybody go do your own research on this thing, but I'm gonna let y'all listen to this video.
Here in Belton, Sydney Walker, 16, who is 18 at the time, has been accused of his classmate Joe Ramirez in a Belton High School bathroom. Ramirez was stabbed multiple times and later from the injuries. 6 News reporter Sydney Walker was in the courtroom today. Sydney, what did you learn? Today marks the beginning of the highly anticipated trial in the state of Texas versus case in Allison. I got here about 8:45 a.m. and the hallways of the Bell County Justice Center were jam-packed. That's largely because this jury pool consists of 120 people. When the trial begins, it will take place in District Court 478, which is Judge Faulkner's court, but the hearing today was in District Court 146 simply to accommodate the number of people. During today's proceedings, Allison sat quietly between his two defense attorneys. If found guilty, he faces between 5 to 99 years in prison or life. Judge Faulkner mentioned to the court he was aware of the high media coverage of this case and told jurors to avoid learning information outside of the court. There were also notices on the courtroom doors prohibiting recording and the use of cameras. When the hearing began, several jurors were dismissed or opted out. The state went first with its questions for the potential jurors, focusing heavily on the distinction between self-defense and deadly force, repeatedly asking where they drew the line between the two. Only late in the afternoon, around 2-ish, did they present vague details about the case. Once they revealed that the case involved school violence and a stabbing at Belton High, nearly 40 jurors raised their card to acknowledge they had previous knowledge of the case. Many expressed concern about the ability to remain unbiased. We will be hearing mostly from Allison's defense team tomorrow since they didn't start their questioning until about 4-ish today, and then court convened at 4:30. But they did tell us today that they were here in defense of the law, not in defiance of the law. Jury selection will continue tomorrow, and the trial is expected to start in court on April 14th and will end no later than April 25th. I'll be here for you through it all. Here in Belton.
You hear that? You hear the details of that trial and how long? Did you hear all of the details like trial for Carmelo's trial? You didn't get that information. All you got was that he was going to start his trial and it went right to trial in 1 week, and in 1 week they already came with a verdict. 1 week. Closing arguments, they didn't even have that many. And the only witness that they put on the stand for Carmelo, and Carmelo didn't speak. Thank you, Jesus, he didn't. Because guess what? The appellants were there already. To God be all the glory. I knew that was a strategic move because of the way they moved it. They did that because whatever they get from the trial that he had, and they seen some holes in it, they was going to throw it there. They was going to throw it because they already knew that half of these people were lying. They were lying. They knew it was all a rigged trial. But because of the rigged trial, then they had to look at how they was going to charge Carmelo Anthony. So I think Carmelo Anthony got a better chance of winning in his appeal. So Carmelo Anthony, right, with this Belton High School research of that trial, when you look at this trial and you look at the Carmelo trial, they similar trials, and it happened in sort of kind of in the same kind of way, but in the same state, like in Texas. One was at a high inside the school building, and one was outside on a track that where the schools meet and everything to have they track meets and everything. At the I forgot what the name of the place is, but the schools that were competing, that be competing in all those schools go to that for them high schools that are there. The two different high schools that were there. Um, anyway, like I said, that place over there, the same thing. It happened the same way. It's similar in the same sort of kind of, you could say. The ages, the knife thing is a knife. There is a knife inside the school building. And then on top of that, look how they treated Carmelo the way they treated Allison. So you can't tell me it wasn't racism involved in all of this. Nobody didn't see past the skin color. Nobody. All they saw was that Alice. That I'm sorry. All they saw is that Carmelo was black and Austin was white, and it was a white boy killed by a black boy. They both were supposed to be athletes, outstanding athletes, and they want to make it all look like it was the black man because the deceased, because of the person who's deceased, made the deceased look like the victim. But the deceased not always the victim. Sometimes the deceased is always, because sometimes be the aggressor. And they try to make Carmelo sound like one. Look at them calling him murderer and all this other stuff. He wasn't a murderer. It happened accidentally. It happened so quickly. Even the witnesses said that they didn't even see how it happened. It just happened so quickly. And it probably wasn't even Carmelo probably didn't even understand how it happened. That's why he didn't say anything. you know, probably wasn't even, like I said, God hands is in this. Y'all gonna give this boy 35 years, but when this guy followed his so-called, him, the victim, followed the person into the bathroom, okay? You actually followed this, you claim it's self-defense, but you followed him to the bathroom with a knife. So you was intentionally meant to kill Ramirez. And Ramirez family should fight and reopen that trial and make sure they put more time on his ass for the life of their son. The family for their loved one. Okay, because he followed Ramirez, so he meant to kill him. He meant to harm him seriously. Yes, he did. He meant to harm him seriously, and the family should reopen that trial. I don't know if they could do the retrial, but they can, do something if they got a support. I don't know if because they trial wasn't high profile like Carmelo's is, but if I was that family, where they was watching this is a good reason why they should come back for Allison ass, and he's older now. He's older now, just like they try to make Carmelo sound older than Austin was. They try to make Carmelo really sound like the monster. Paint him, and that's what the prosecutors do. They will really try to put it together like silk, you know. But they didn't. They messy. These prosecutors was very messy because I'm glad there were people who were sitting in the courtroom documenting everything, and I'm hoping everybody got transcripts and everything. The transcripts are probably out there, so what they said, then people could go through the transcript, and I think that's exactly how the appellate court is going to work. They're going to find every hole in there, and then Hunter not being on the stand, and they're going to try to use that too. And so, well, let them bash in their wickedness. They could laugh now, but you see, the appellants was already there. They was already taking notes, and that's why they already filed the appeal. It's already filed. It was a strategic move. How they were trying to play their little devil advocacy, or how they were trying to manipulate things. Media manipulation. Of course, they use media manipulation. They got the upper hand. It's a high profile trial. They're already putting things out there to make people, even potential jurors or whatever like that, already say he's guilty. They got platforms set up out here and everything that's working on the side of the McCliff family. Some of these races, KKK supporters, even some black platforms. That's why I'm not even listening to some of them on the topic of this conversation. I'm not even listening to none of them because I said if you're not in the interest of a black young man whose life is hanging on the line to go to prison and miss out on so and so, and they're gonna hit him, overcharge him, and you know doggone well that you could see that he is innocent. He's innocent. And all the stuff that has been going on in America to black males and black children. And then on top of that, young black men and black women with black children raising up in the world today. But you speaking on Carmelo's life, you better watch out what God got for your life, okay? I don't care about you giving in your black card. There are some things I just don't get involved with when it comes to some things with some black people that put themselves in a bad situation. With Carmelo, this is not the kind that I could shut my eyes to or turn away from without using my voice and without lifting my prayers and without support. Now, I look at this young man, Carmelo. He was not about those streets. He was not about no hustling and none of that. Everything he needed, he had a family to provide those things to him. He also had a job that was opening up to him for that year. He couldn't even go back to his job. He had a job. Okay? He was already ready to work and start his life of working and also contributing to his family and his father and his mother, what they were doing for his father. Work was a hard working man. Father's a nice guy. They're a conservative black family. A conservative Christian black family. The mother even begged for her son's life. And people say, well, mine, you could go visit yours, but I can't. That's a selfish way of thinking. When your child put itself in harm's way, you just got to open it. And of course, it's going to take you some time. And that's why I said it was too soon to move this trial. It was too soon. Because people haven't healed yet. They haven't healed yet where they can see differently from where this young man, even though it's your child, but you got to understand your child also should never have put his hands on someone when they tell them, you touch me and see what I'll do. That's a warning. I don't care. He's sitting under the tent. You go and say, well, you know what? I ain't going to touch you. I'm just going to go get security. They're going to throw you up on out of here. That's what you could have did. But there was no adult there giving these young people supervision. There was no adult there that could have intervened. There was no adult there that could have assisted or whatever. These were two teenagers, two young men, athletes or whatever, who made a bad choice, both of them. Just because the one is deceased now, that's the choice he made. Because he made a choice to put his hands on Carmelo. When he told him, if you do it, you're going to see what I'm going to do. Okay? And he just let that be known. And that's what's going to be the attitude all black men going to be like now. Because they're going to be like, hey, either yours or my life. Okay? Because black people are tired of being harassed, bullied, and you name it, by white people. Getting in our spaces, and then on top of that, always trying to bully us and try to tell us how to think, how to live, like you own us. And black people getting tired of it. They don't care what they got to fight with now. We know you got the military power, but y'all the bullies. Y'all the bullies. Y'all got all that international influence. Y'all the bullies with y'all money. Here in America. No doggone well that boy shouldn't have put his hands on that young man, Carmelo. Knowing doggone well. But y'all heart and y'all heart. And the bunch of grown men or whoever on the jurors looking at this 17-year-old boy, well, now 18, because Carmelo ain't 19, and they need to correct his age. He's only 18. He hasn't turned 19 yet, because when the incident took place, he was only 17 years old. That was last year in April of 2025. And we are only in 2026. We only 6 months into the year. And people out here saying all these hateful things don't even know that boy. Don't even know him. But they just want to judge him by the color of his skin. Not all his other great achievements, his athletic abilities, and his great, his grades in school, and how he makes his parents proud. He's not out there on the street in no gang. He ain't getting dragged up by the streets. And of course, whether he got to deal with them white boys where he got to go to school, he got to fight real hard on both sides. You got to fight the street gang brothers out there that try to jump him into some kind of violence and in gangs and stuff with his own black men out here. Missing fathers, the ones who don't got what he got, and they're going to come for him. And then he got to fight with the white man. So he got to fight on both ends as a man. But y'all know y'all lying on his name now, calling him what y'all calling him, and doing the things that y'all been doing to him. But like I said, his day will come. And got that poor mother heart breaking out there for her child. But mom, I just say this to these mothers. You know, especially Christian mothers, you know the word of God. You know what they did to Christ. You know what Mary had to go through. But when you go through that Bible, this is God initiation. This ain't man's initiation. This is God initiation to raise up a king. So hold on. Help is on the way. Carmelo's going to get through to this. And women, that's what happened. He going to be a king. He going to be a leader. He going to be all that. He ain't going to be none of that what they saying. That's what they trying to make him into. But that's not where he going. Look at what they did to Christ. They stripped him down. They beat him. They whipped him. They put a crown of thorns on his head before they nailed him to the cross and humiliated him. That's what's going on in these people evil heart. What they doing to Carmelo's flesh. What they doing to come, and they can't claim they are Christian. Christians don't, a real Christian, because you know the teachings of Jesus Christ and you know who your Savior is. And when you saying that you accept Lord and Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you don't treat people like that. God said it himself. You don't treat people. Christ said you can't do that. You can't say you follow him. And then on top of that, this man right here, this young brother right here, this young man, Carmelo, made a mistake. Yes, there's consequences, but come on, y'all being a little too much ridiculous at your age, and he hasn't even lived 35 years, but y'all gonna give him 35 years to his life in prison. But this other one who follows his so-called aggressor or whoever to the bathroom and stabbed him up, y'all gonna call that justice. Y'all gonna call that, okay, we're gonna give you 2 to 10 years or something like that. Come on, make it make sense. You gave him something, and you made what's his name life worth nothing, meant nothing. Ramirez, even though they both agreed to fight each other and everything, but look at the whole thing. Look at the both sides of things. This case wasn't based on Carmelo, on based on the fact of proving self-defense, which it was self-defense. It was based on a black young teenage boy stabbed and killed a white boy. And the white boy was the aggressor, and the black teen boy, and y'all just not couldn't keep it that way. Y'all had to twist and make it a lie and make it sound like Carmelo was the one who intentionally meant to kill Austin, because that's the evil that's in your heart, because that's what y'all do to us all the time. But I'm glad that Carmelo's team is moving strategically, and the Appealians was sitting right there while that trial was going on, taking notes, because this is where they're going to go. That was the test run. Okay? Just to see how y'all would have acted if it was the real run. But it's the test run. Now the truth is unfolding. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. And then on top of that, remember I told black people to stay calm, because that was the strategy. They was going to get Carmelo. They was going to try to make this thing. They was going to do the injustice that they did to him, so that they can get a reason to get you out there, so they could do the harm they want to do to you. So that's why I say stay calm, because it was two things going on at the same time where you was conflicted. You got Carmelo thing going on, and then you got this Cyrus thing going on with the Koreans and everything, and the Asians. So we got both of those things fighting with us. But see, God don't give us no more than we can bear. So that's why He's allowed me to know this, so I can say this, because they had the Carmelo thing going on and the Asian thing going on. To get your feelings all messed up and give you a reason to feel hopeless and run out there in the streets and start acting like a fool and vandalizing and committing arson and all that stuff. So they have a reason to come out there and harm you. You know what I'm saying? That's the strategy. That's what they were using. They wanted to run you to the streets with this nonsense. No, we gonna fight. We gonna battle it in the courthouse, because justice to us is not blind. It's clear as that. We see it. We see it. You didn't prove that this wasn't self-defense. The prosecutors, you didn't prove that. But it was self-defense. It wasn't nothing more you could say. I said it was self-defense. And then we got other things. We got a lot of documented information on trials that we saw people that actually went after the person and killed them and claimed self-defense. Kyle Rittenhouse, and the other one that choked out, oh God, why his name? Daniel Penny. He actually choked out that man on the subway. He could have went to another car. He didn't have to sit there and listen. He could have went and got security and said, "Get this dude off the train, man. He's disturbing me." Something you ain't have to choke him out and kill him, and you can claim and then get the walk free. And then the other one doing the same thing, Kyle Penny. Kyle Penny. That people don't see this all over the world. This is injustice. Come on, can't play nobody on that stuff no more, because it's gonna be done to you if you don't get your heart right. Y'all know this is injustice. Clear as day. It ain't blind. This ain't blind at all. Like I said, God's courts are in heaven, and how everything is moving is in spiritual form. There's Ramirez case. Ramirez was killed by Allison. Allison followed Ramirez into that restroom. That boys' restroom. For to fight. And that's why that family deserved justice. And they deserve that case to be retried. And those charges to be lifted. That was murder. Okay. Carmelo's wasn't murder. It was reckless manslaughter. Point blank, period. With that being said, y'all, let me get my day going. God bless you. I love you. And be safe. Peace.